Today on Celebrate South Florida, we take a trip down memory lane to explore the world of collectibles. First, we slip into the driver's seat of a great American classic to experience the all-powerful muscle car. Then we show you the masterful art of American automobile design. And finally, we climb aboard the Express Railway to discover the finest collection of model trains. That's today on Celebrate South Florida.
Next, we take you into the world of model railroaders. These masters of their trade collect the best train, build the most intricate city scenes, and love to show it all off. So let's get a railcar view of these elaborate displays.
I started when I was 8 years old, when I saw in a hobby shop a kit for a box car. I asked my dad if I could have it. He says, "Are you sure?" It was a whole 75 cents. I built it. I still have it today, and it runs on my railroad.
I got started because I lived down in Hollywood at the time, and a neighbor of mine was always out in his garage playing with what I thought, I didn't know what it was, but it ended up was trains. It was constantly out there.
Well, when I was a kid, of course, I had my Lionel stuff, and then two of my brothers and myself, we had our trains, and we set them up on the third floor of my folks' house. And after I got married, my wife made me take them all down. I couldn't understand that.
Well, I was about 13 or 14, going through the fair, walk through, and I see this giant, elaborate layout.
My wife and I came to the fair in 1996. We saw it. I talked to the people in the club and asked about joining, and here I am today.
I moved down to Florida, and I started building scale models for attorneys to use as evidence in law cases, and models for architects. And it just kept me going, and I've always come out to the fair ever since we moved down here. In '79, I've been here almost every year with the kids or by myself. And about 3-4 years ago, I came in and Lyman was sitting there and started talking to me, and he said, "Well, why don't you come on back on a Tuesday? Maybe we'll get you in." So I said, "All right," and I did.
After walking through a dozen times, a good member who doesn't really come here that often, his name is Norton, asked me to come back, come to the inside of the layout, and basically I got to play with some trains, and they coaxed me into just coming out on a Tuesday night, and that's how it starts.
A passenger train or a freight train would start at Hookham Yard, which is at the end of the table, and it would pass through Nortown, which are the buildings that are by the plexiglass over here, the fairground area, which is a knockoff of the fair when it's operational. The next part would be Columbia Bay, which is where we have some boats, and then comes around to behind where I'm standing, which is Juniper Junction and Midway. After it passes through those areas, it ends up on trackage that's on the rear side of the room, and it runs through several towns without stopping. It comes around the front and it makes a whole loop again. That trip, clockwise, is 2.5 scale miles. A train that would run counterclockwise would run a scale 2 miles. It avoids the island behind me and just goes around the room. That's what we do during the fair. for the public to see. And we can run up to, on the main line, with an engineer or two, 7 trains. We run more, there's another 6 that we can run around that are automatic. We don't touch them. This one is a very good railroad as far as the detail that we have, because we have people who come up with ideas and we add them into the railroad continually. It's a non-stop process. In fact, one of the newest things behind me, if the ceiling is showing, will be a Goodyear blimp flying over the city that I am blocking your view of.
I think it's the nicest one in the state of Florida. It's the most realistic one in the state of Florida. We have a pretty good group of guys. A lot of clubs struggle because they don't have funds. You have to fund it yourself. All of our stuff, our particular layout's done on donation. And so whatever we raise during the year, whatever goes in the donation boxes, we plow back into the railroad. And the unique thing about the club is it allows guys to pool their money. So one particular guy doesn't have to have a whole bunch of money to enjoy the finer things of model railroad, and we can buy more expensive things that you normally could not buy.
Some are kits and some are kit bashed. An example of a kit bash is a coal mine that's on a lower level of the railroad. Kits would be roundhouses, buildings, granaries, and pickle factories and things like that, warehouses, although we do have several buildings that are scratch built. One is a model of the CBI building, Cheney Brothers, who brings the food to the fair and to institutions. The other one is a Serta mattress company, in which in the lobby there happens to be a secretary sitting. In real life, the secretary sits in the lobby at a desk.
Display at a mall, and it was what they call modulars, and they set up for Christmas, and then they invited me, that group invited me over to a club, and at the time I didn't know there was such thing as model railroad clubs throughout the country, and so I got involved with that. And then for a long time all I did was collect trains, and I collected and bought things that were of interest to me. And then I didn't actually plan on a model railroad till I moved into this house, and I had a big enough garage I could put it in. Okay, the layout here is 14 by 18 feet. It's a double dog bone. It's in the shape of a U that you can walk into the center of it, so you don't have to duck underneath it. Well, I've been working on this thing between 15 and 18 years. Of course, that's not solid every day. That's working on it a couple hours a week, and so eventually you build up, add on and add on and add on. To this day, it's not completely finished. Look at this is basically, would be Western Pennsylvania. My wife's from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and I would go up there with her on vacation and take pictures of this picturesque area. So when I bring the pictures back, when I decided to do the scenery, I would try and duplicate the pictures. And that's basically what what I have tried to accomplish.
It's unexplainable. It's an unexplainable love. It's just something that's part of your life.
I've loved it ever since I was a little kid, and my dad would set up his Lionel standard gauge trains at Christmas time around the tree, and they wouldn't do that until Christmas Eve after we all went to bed. We had a 20-foot tree in the house, so that was decorated. All the presents came out of wherever they hid them, and he set up his train, and we would just, once the presents were open, my brothers, my sister, myself, we just sat there and played with those trains and played with them and played with them. You lay down on the floor and oh, here it comes, and then it makes that turn. And it's something else to watch. And once it gets in your blood, it never really leaves.
I like it for two things. Number one, I consider trains as artwork. It's literally, this is art, but the difference is it's in motion. It gives you a way that you can display your artistic ability, and then you have movement within the train. Every boxcar you see, all the engines you see are basically billboards. They're moving billboards.
I like model railroading for, again, two reasons. One is it doesn't argue with you. It never disagrees with you. And the other one is you're building your own empire.
For more information about the Palm Beach Model Railroader Club, go to palmbeachmodelrailroaders.org or email fbrooksblack@aol.com.
Collecting is a great hobby and different for everyone. Each item collected has its own story, a story you can share with great enthusiasm. We hope you've enjoyed this walk down memory lane. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mia Lorenzo, and I'll see you next time as we celebrate South Florida.